Ronak and you're watching VectoArt. So in today's video we will learn how to create this login form with cool looking animations in WPF using storyboards, and also we will introduce a UI framework called HandyControls. So without any further ado, let's get started. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button for future updates for my upcoming videos. So let's start by opening Visual Studio 2019 Blend and click on create a new project. Here we will select WPF app with .NET framework. Let's give this project a name and let's leave the rest of the details as is. Also, the source code is available in GitHub. You can download the code. The link to the GitHub repository is in the description. So let's go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Manage NuGet Packages. So now we are downloading or we are installing the HandyControls UI framework package. So let's go to Browse and search for HandyControls and click on the fifth link. Select the project and click on install. Once it is installed, you will get a small readme file which will help you include this package into your project. So let's wait for the application to get installed. Okay, it's successfully installed now. So this readme file has the information. So let's copy the readme file content and paste it in the app.xaml file. Okay, so we have pasted the resource dictionary. Now let's copy the namespace and paste it in the main window.xaml file as well. So let's close all the unnecessary tabs, and now let's move on to the main window XML file and paste the namespace. Okay, so let's minimize the XML section. Okay, and first we have to do is we have to get rid of the form borders. So for that we'll have to click on the allow transparency checkbox, and also let's change the window startup location to center screen. That is done. Now let's start first by adding an image to the grid. So let's search for an image control, select the image and draw it on the form. I have downloaded one image from the internet. You can do the same. You can download the free stock images. Okay, so that's done, and let's place it at the corner. Okay, now let's start with the other elements like text boxes, password boxes and buttons. So let's first start by adding a label or text block. Change the content. Change the text properties like font size and font weight. Okay, now let's add a small logo next to the text block. So let's draw the image again on the board and change the width and height, and also the image source. This icon I have downloaded from Icons 8 website. The link to it is also in the description. Now let's place it next to the text block, and also let's add a padding to the text block so that it aligns to the image. So if you go to the properties and if you go to the padding, you can add a padding of 5 pixels to the top. Okay, so let's make a copy of the text block again and place it next to the image or the logo. Okay, so that's done. Now let's change the color of the text, half of the text to blue. Just some visual changes that we are making. Let's add spacing between the logo and the text blocks. I'm using the arrow keys to move the elements. Okay, now we need another subtext for this UI. So I have just made a copy of the existing text block and I'm changing the font size and the font weight for it. Let's add some text, and to copy the elements I have used the shortcut by holding the Alt key on the keyboard and dragging the control using the mouse. You can also copy and paste by using Ctrl C and Ctrl V. I'm aligning this content to center and also increasing the font size. Now we need one more label or text block, so let's copy it one more time, change the content to login, and also let's increase the font size and font weight. Okay, so now let's go to the documentation for HandyControls, and under extended controls you will find the documentation for the text box. This link to this documentation is also there in the description. You can check out the rest of the controls for this UI framework. So I'm copying the sample code and pasting it on the XAML tab, and also if you go to the design, I have not specified the width and height, so let's change the width and height by dragging its anchor points. And you can see that we have a placeholder text as well as a title. For now, in this design we do not need a title for this text box, so let's go to the XAML file and get rid of the placeholder title or info element. So let's remove that title, and also now after removing the title we have to resize the text box and also change the placeholder text to email. So let's go back to the XAML file tab and change the text to email. Now next let's add a password box. We will not take the copy, we will just remove this text box that we copied just now, and we'll go to the documentation again and take a look at the password box option. So this password box has other features like show password and clear password options, so we can make use of those. So let's copy the margin from the text box and paste it in the password box. Also let's change the placeholder text if you require, and add the two attributes show clear button and show I button. Okay, if you run the application now, you will see that the password box has these two small buttons at the right hand side which will show you the password and which will also help you clear the password. So if you start typing, you can see these buttons getting highlighted in blue, and you can see the text when you click on it. So this is what the control is from HandyControl. There are a lot of other controls which with cool animations, so you can go to the HandyControls, or you can also check out my other videos wherein I have explained most of the controls from the package. So now let's add a button and change the background color to blue and the foreground color to white, and also change the text. So we are done with the login form. Let's select all the controls under the login and group it into a grid. rename it to login. Now next let's copy and paste this grid on the main grid and hide the first login screen that we created, and let's start working on the second login screen, which will be the sign up UI actually. So let's start making the changes. So that's done. Now let's change the text from login to sign up, or maybe we can change it to create account. Now let's add one more text box above email. So let's move the controls down. Okay, and let's copy the email text box and paste it above it. Okay, and change the placeholder text to name. So if you can go to the XAML file, you can go to the placeholder text. Okay, so that's done. Now let's go to design and we have almost finished the sign up form now. Next we will add before that let's move the we'll not hide it, we'll move it to the right hand side and keep the main login form on the left hand side. So let's unhide it, make it visible and move it to the right hand side. So we are moving the sign up form to the right hand side, and once we move it, let's change the visibility to hidden. Okay, so this is the start screen. We have one more thing left. We need to add a button which will trigger the animation later on. So let's add a button. So if you have to sign up or create a new account, then you'll have to click on this button which will trigger the animation. So we are adding this button. We'll move it to the center of the form. Okay, and we'll have to change couple of properties like background, foreground and the content itself. So let's go to the button properties and change the background color, and also let's change the content to sign up. Okay, and let's change the foreground color to white. So that's done. We need one more button. Before that, let's align it to the center. So let's go to the properties, remove the margins that we have, change it to 0 and change the vertical alignment to center, and now let's add a margin to the left. Okay, you can move using the arrow keys. Okay, so now we'll need one more button for login if you are on the sign up screen after the animation has started. So let's make a copy of the sign up button, and again let's change the margins to 0, and now add a margin of 20 pixels to the left, and change the content to login, and by default this button will be hidden. it will be hidden because we are going to start up with the login screen when we load the application, and it will transition to the sign up only when you click on the sign up button. So let's change the visibility to hidden, and now I think we are done. Let's start by adding a storyboard, and on the first keyframe just add an empty keyframe for login form, sign up form, image, and all the elements except the first image. So the first image, sorry, except the first button, that will be the sign up button. We have to make it hidden on the first keyframe, and on the 0.5 keyframe we have to move the image to the left hand side. So once we are done moving the image on the 0.5 keyframe to the left hand side, let's move on to the login form and change its visibility to hidden on the 0.4 keyframe, and on the 0.5 keyframe make the Signup UI visible, and change the login button visible on the 0.5 keyframe. Okay, so let's run the animation, and you'll see that it has transitioned to sign up. So let's add one more storyboard, and in this storyboard we will have to make sure that we start from where we left off from the storyboard 1. So in the storyboard 1 the login form was hidden, the image was on the left hand side, the sign up button was hidden, and the login button was visible. So we have to start from where we left off on the first keyframe. Make the changes, make this hidden, make the login button visible on the first keyframe, and also the login or the sign up form visible on the first keyframe. So this was where we left off. Now we have to transition back to login. So on the 0.5 keyframe, change the image location to the right hand side. So that's done. Now we have to hide the login button on the second keyframe, 0.2 keyframe. We have to hide the login button, and on the 0.5 keyframe we have to make the sign up button visible, and we have to hide the sign up form since we are transitioned to the login form, and we have to make the login form visible. So if you run the application or the animation, you will see that we are transitioning from sign up to login. Now all we have to do is add the triggers to the respective buttons. So we have to select the button and go to triggers and add the trigger on button click. You have to trigger the storyboard 1, and we have to add one more trigger, and on the button click, on the button to click, let's select the button 1 and go to triggers and select the button 1, and on click we have to trigger the storyboard 2. So that's it guys, our animation is ready and our application is also ready. Hope you all liked watching this video. If you do, please do subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon for future updates. Thanks for watching. Bye.